And right now we're back in studio. We're taking a look at today's very serious topic. We're looking at South Park, Tom Green, these on-the-edge humor shows, and the drastic effects. Yes, potty humor shows. The drastic effects they could have on our society and the world. They could possibly make the world crumble. And we have our guest today, Mr. Brent Stafford. He has a Master's of Communication from Simon Fraser University, so he ain't no dummy. Well, that depends who you ask.
Oh, yeah.
And he also works at Too Cool Productions. So welcome to the show, Brent.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Hello.
And good to have you here. You used to do some shooting for us.
A little bit of stuff for you guys, yeah, so I'm familiar with the Gen Y vibe.
That's good. That's important. So I want to know, first off, just what is your take on shows like South Park, Tom Green, these kind of, you know, out there, outrageous humor shows?
Well, they're funny. They're darn funny. Can I say damn on this show? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think I did, yeah. They're really funny. I mean, I enjoy them as an adult, and I know youth love the shows. So, I mean, there's, you know, they've got an appeal to them for sure. I can understand why they're very popular. But certainly, you know, there's some issues about them, I think.
So what are these issues? I heard that "but" in there. So.
Well, I think the key thing when I start speaking about this, I think is really important for me to say that you don't want to slam media too much, especially media that's really popular to youth, because doing that isn't a very good strategy, because most people will tune out. When you like something, you don't want to hear somebody say that it's bad. So I don't want to talk that way about South Park and Tom Green. But then again, there are aspects of them that I think that are sort of detrimental to what's called the public discourse of society, to get it real serious here, right? There's been a drastic, what's called a debasing of public discourse.
What does that mean exactly?
What that means is basically the dumbing down of society in America, and the kind of discussion that people have between each other goes right to the toilet, right? So South Park for sure, and Tom Green definitely is totally South Park and dumb.
Okay.
So that's why you think it's so popular, is because people they don't have to think much about it?
Oh, I think I think that's a key thing. I think that's a key thing. They're very easy shows to watch. They don't task your brain in terms of having, you know, stimulating you intellectually and forcing you to really think about anything serious. On the other side, though, one of the things that a lot of people say is that shows like this do tackle what are sensitive issues in society, and because they do, that there's some sort of probative value, you know, because of that. But in the end, they tackle things so much on the surface that they don't really help expose any of the problems and the nuances of any of the issues. They really pretty much just slide right over it with sarcastic humor. So.
So now you talked about you know, the debasing of society, and I guess I'm curious, you know, do these shows really have a possible negative effect on youth? Maybe you can expand on this debasing, dumbing down of society, and what do you think are the negative effects on youth?
Well, in terms of negative, I think that it's funny because the South Park movie so perfectly attacks the critics of its show when it talks about how right off the bat, basically the main thing is that all the kids start using all the swear words because they go and they see the movie from Canada, and all of a sudden everyone's swearing. But there's a lot of truth in that. Kids are very impressionable, and certainly with language, we learn language at a young age by hearing it. So I think certainly it's tough for parents and for educators and stuff like that to get a handle sometimes on younger kids who are exposed to this kind of language over and over again, because it does infiltrate, right?
Okay. Well, we are going to go take a look at the Streeter set right now, and when we come back, the phone lines are going to be open. We're going to keep on talking with our guest, Brent Stafford, about South Park and Tom Green and the possible just negative effects they could have for the whole world. What do you guys think about them? Call in. You will have a chance to win some CDs, but right now we're going to take a look at our Streeters. So this is what you had to say about shows like South Park and Tom Green. Roll it.
Hi, I'm Matthew Burke, and today we'll be interviewing teens about South Park. What are your views about such extreme shows as South Park?
I really think that if it's used for entertainment, it's okay. But if people actually start following it and doing some of the violence, then I don't think they should be showing it anymore.
Well, I don't agree with South Park. I think it's just totally outrageous.
It's like cool. I don't know, because they like swear a lot and they like swear at their parents. It's cool.
I would have to say they're very violent, and it's not very good influence on other kids.
I think they're funny. I don't know. That's kind of my immature side. I think it's funny to watch.
What kind of stuff draws people to these kinds of shows?
Swearing and like violence and like drugs.
They think it's funny, and it's all bathroom humor or making fun of people.
The humor, the funniness. I don't know.
What do you think some of the negative effects of these shows are?
Little kids that watch it will actually start doing some of the stuff thinking it's okay and they won't get hurt from it.
Kenny dying every episode is sort of really violent there, but you know.
Well, they use a lot of coarse language and people get the wrong idea of what they really mean.
Some of the negative effects, like they just show like all this killing and then the kids are going to go out and do it too.
How long do you think these kind of shows are going to last for?
I think they're going to last forever. I think they're going to get worse and worse.
South Park, no one really watches South Park anymore, but I don't know, it only lasts for like a couple months.
Not very long. I seriously don't. South Park is getting old and boring.
Until the end of time. The kids are always going to be experimenting into new stuff with shows that they shouldn't be watching, but you know.
And we're back. Those were our streeters with your opinion on South Park, Tom Green, shows like that. And personally, that hurt, okay? I don't think South Park's getting old at all. I love that show. Anyways, we're here with Brent Stafford. He's an SFU Masters of Communication, and he's here to talk to us about these shows.
So what do you think about those streeters, Brent? We saw some of the feedback there.
That whole thing about South Park's over doesn't surprise me because people get really sort of, it's done. It's over. It's a fad, and they just leave it. But I think, you know, there's something that came up out of there is that I was sort of wanted to mention that one of the reasons why these shows are so popular is I think that we as a culture are becoming meaner. Our society is becoming meaner, and that's really a true attraction to, especially with Tom Green, is that he's mean to people. He gets them on camera, people just on the street who are generally more white trash Americans, and he makes fun of them on camera, and they don't even know that they're going to be broadcast on national television, right? And I think as viewers, we really get a hit out of that because we get to watch these people squirm, and they're squirming and they don't even know that they're being shown all over. You know.
What's so great about that show too is, I mean, you're sitting there watching it, and if you don't at least find it funny, you're sitting there going like, I can't believe he's actually doing this.
You're astonished.
Yeah, and he's doing stuff that you would never imagine doing.
Yeah, it's the astonishing value of it. And he carries a hunk of poo right into the audience.
Or the dead bird, or trying to make his co-host puke. I could do that too.
Now, I mean, in defense of shows like Tom Green, because I get the sense in talking to you before that Tom Green, between South Park and Tom Green's the one you like the least. Yeah. Now, I mean, but in defense of shows like that, I mean, isn't this just a continuation of a type of humor that has like a long tradition, you know, just pushing the envelope that much more? You made the point yourself that sarcastic humor goes way back to, you know, Shakespearean times, you know, making fun of people. So in that sense, aren't these shows really just a little bit more of what we've always had for eons?
Well, yeah, and that's a good point, and it's something that I do totally agree with to a certain point. I would never want to live in a world that was without sarcasm and wit and humor. Forget it. I would die.
Sure would.
I mean,
no.
Well, you would do good.
Yeah.
But I'm not a politically correct person. Anybody who knows me knows that. So for me to sit here and argue that these shows are bad for kids and stuff like that, I don't want people to get that. I think the key thing is that in a 500-channel universe where there's so little time anymore to really sort of grow as a person intellectually, this stuff just takes up valuable space and time in some cases for youth, right? Because they're so locked into their video games, they're so locked into their music, and they're so locked into these kinds of shows. Where's the brain space for engaging in anything more that's a little bit higher level intellectually, which I think is important.
Okay, well, let's tap into your brain space out there. What do you guys think about shows like Tom Green, South Park? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Whatever, doesn't matter. Call us up with any questions or comments you have, and hey, you could have a chance at winning one of 4 great CDs, so you might as well speak your mind. Don't let us just do all the talking for you here as we hash out these topics. So another question, I guess, is that, you know, there's a long history, Brent, of panics about kids programming. Happened with Power Rangers, even happened with Teletubbies. But then I'm wondering, like, is there any proof that these fears are justified? Because they pop up every few years. People freak out. So is there any justification for these fears?
Right. Well, parents groups and educators and people in government get totally lost in the idea of proving that there's a direct correlation between bad television and effects in kids' behavior. And I think that's very dangerous to say because kids are sophisticated enough, I think, youth are sophisticated enough to not get caught into that trap in a lot of cases. But over the long period of time, it's frequency. Advertising works by frequency, and I think the frequency of being exposed to WWF and South Park and Tom Green has an effect eventually on your positioning as a human being in this world and how you relate and understand people around you. And certainly WWF, I truly believe, has actually had measurable effects in the school playground in terms of an increase in violence and so forth. So,
okay, we've got a caller. Dean, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Okay, his comment about the WWF and violence in the school ground, he's right. They have a lot of public services announcements and whatnot. I personally like WWF a lot. My girlfriend hates it, but I like it. And as far as South Park goes, it's a great show. I just saw the movie actually recently, and it's one of those movies where you're going to find there's a lot of swearing in it, like beyond extreme amount of swearing, and I don't think it's for everybody, but you know, I mean, for me it is, because I like that. My generation is, you know, well, I guess your guys' generation, you know, but I don't know. It's one of those shows where either you like it or you don't.